jet engine of a computer. I love it because it actually is really strong. Alright, so today we're gonna do what we did yesterday. This time you only can hear me. That's the biggest difference. Yeah. Alright, so yesterday I liked how we went, and I think we'll take it again. And looking at everything, I changed a few things around. Yesterday on what I feel like can happen. But overall, first and foremost, I think Houston is last place in the conference, mostly because I can see UTSA beating them. Can't see Rice beating them. TCU, I think beats them. Sam Houston, I think they beat Sam Houston, chalking them up. And when they start actual full-on league play, they'll be 2-2, and then they go into Tech. They win. They lose at Tech, and I think West Virginia beats them at home. And Texas, Kansas State, I think beats them. But first and foremost, let me kind of explain what I'm doing. This is something that I wanted to do for a while. As a college football fan, I've always loved college football, and I love talking about it. I love sports. I grew up playing football. I grew up playing basketball, and I'll do this when basketball season starts. Pretty sure it starts in November for the Big 12. But overall, I think for me, this is something I'm good at. I really like stats and statistics when you're talking about sports. Talking about like finances, probably not. But talking about football, I love it. And this is just something that I've always wanted to do, and I'm finally getting to it to the point where it's going to be fun for me. This is something I want to do. And I really want to show you guys this because I know I'm not super knowledgeable, but I've always predicted pretty well. And overall, I feel like I like how unknowledgeable the Big 12 is, I guess, and how different it is, and that's where I'm going to lie. But overall, I kind of want to cover all of college football and basketball. I love college sports. I'm not a big fan of the overall. I'm not a big fan of NFL. NFL I like a lot more than I like NBA. One, their name doesn't make sense, and two, their players are yeah. But I will follow each of them. I will probably show standings when I do that. When you see me looking over here, I have my camera over here, and I have my monitor that you guys can see over here as well, except for these two. They are over on this screen right in front of you. Okay, so I want to start with Houston. I'm going to go from bottom to top on how I rate these and who I think wins the conference. This is going to be a theme for me that I will track and I will remember. Mostly because I like it and I'm going to hold myself accountable. If I was dead wrong on some picks, if I'm dead wrong on my favorite team, I'm going to do something. I'm going to follow up with that. Sorry about my bed. Did not make it today. But overall, let's get started. All right. University of Houston is my my overall first team because I see them taking last. 1 second. Alright, so no one's there. Sorry. Just had to see if somebody was at my house. Alright. So Houston, I just don't think they're ready. Their coach came out and said um that they need a lot more funding for Big 12. And I think that says a lot. I think when the coaches come out and getting the donors to try to submit more money to you, I think it's hard to tell from that. Um, but overall, I think they will be about they might get one win in conference. Um, they played two of the new schools, which is more than BYU. Since he played two of them, so I guess BYU's a low one on that. UCF probably doesn't play Cincinnati or something. But I think they might sneak in a win or two, and my ceiling for them I'm actually gonna copy this. I can't. My ceiling for them would be about 13. Just because I don't think they're gonna go far. The next one I'm gonna say is West Virginia. Um, this is a coach that it's kind of on the hot seat, and what that means is he could be getting fired by bye week. And I think he starts out. They start out conference play at probably 1-2, and I just don't see them going. I don't see them winning Texas Tech or TCU. So you're already sitting at 1-4 when you go into Houston. And I think this is reason why the Big 12 came out and said, like all of the Big 12 media had said that they are probably last. And I just think they're coming out 1-4 at best, at worst. At that point, they might have stolen a win against Pitt. They might have stolen a win against TCU. But I don't see that happening in reality. Just because right now they're weak. Right now they're having a down. They're down. Their coach is on the hot seat, and I can see him being fired by TCU at like the point of if they start out 1-4, he gets fired in the bye week, and that could create a slide where they'd slide from 13th on my list to 14th. But I do see them keeping him on, and at uh, some point West Virginia pulls out a win somewhere, maybe against Cincinnati or BYU. This is coming from me. I am a BYU fan. That's my dad's birthday. I wouldn't want them to lose on November 4th, but I think BYU's never been in that environment, so we don't know. All right, then my next team, it's probably Cincinnati. Talking about coach changes. Talking about coaching changes with Cincinnati, it's hard because that's what they have had. They have had a lot of turnover. When does West Virginia play Pittsburgh? Hold up. Uh, Oh, the week after. Okay, cool. So I think Cincinnati depends on what happens. They could easily be 3-1 at the point of after they played the Oklahoma game. If they get that, I think they lose at BYU. As a BYU fan, I grew up in Provo. Lavelle Edwards gets loud, their stadium, and that's gonna be the first Big 12 game in Lavelle Edwards. I see BYU going out and BYU winning that game. And that's the only reason why I have Cincinnati where I do. I think um, I think after that, Iowa State might beat them. Um, Baylor will beat them. Oklahoma State will beat them. UCF probably goes into Cincinnati and pulls off the upset. Um, and Cincinnati could get a win there. Uh, that one's a toss-up. I think Cincinnati wins that one. West Virginia, this is a rivalry game, and I have Cincinnati winning. Then Kansas State, Kansas, I have them also winning that one. So I think Cincinnati, let's count 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. What's my ceiling for them? 5, 6. My ceiling for them is 6-6. My floor for them is 3-9. Somewhere they'd slip in and win. Probably against Houston and West Virginia. So I think 4-8 is where I'm going to set them. And just because I have my team, have the team that I do just a bit higher than them, I think that's where I will put them. The next team I have, and this one's going to come as a shocker because I am a fan of them, and they are my favorite team. But I believe that BYU is number 11, and so far this is to the Big 12 standard. Besides, I think Houston and West Virginia are flipped, and I just think that seeing how West Virginia's coach isn't fired yet, I don't see it. I'm not going to judge it according to that, but West Virginia could have a rough year. But let's go with BYU now. And this is my big thing is I am BYU. I'm not going to try to predict anything but a record at this point and where they select. But I think they win their first 2 games in Lavelle Edwards. Gonna be good games. Going to be FBS and then FCS game. Just 2 gimme games to get their confidence up. You go into Arkansas. You play Arkansas well, I think, but they lose, and I think that creates a lot of hope, I guess. But they lose at Kansas. Kansas schedule, we'll go over that at that point. But Kansas schedule up to that point, it's pretty easy. And I can see Kansas having a lot of confidence. So they take that one. BYU at Cincy at BYU. I talked about this one already. I think there's no way right now that BYU's losing that game just because I think the house is going to be rocking. And I think BYU wins that. I'm not going to say there's no way. Cincinnati's good. And they have a lot of talent. But I do see BYU pulling out narrowly. And that would be a confidence boost going into what is a really hard October. And the bye week is in between these two games, and that can't be given enough talent. Wait, it is. No, no. So the bye week's in between BYU and TCU, and I think BYU at this point they're sitting at 3-2, and right now just struggling confidence-wise. They get to that bye week. Last year, during their bye week, they crushed after their bye week. They had a bye week in early November and just rocked after. And I think that comes out too. And I think maybe they pull off the upset. I'm not taking it. So I think they lose at TCU, lose at Tech, go into Texas and lose, win at West Virginia, and then win at home with Iowa State. This one's hard. They win at home with Oklahoma. I'm flipped up on that one. That's gonna be senior day. Gonna be rocking. BYU Oklahoma's never came into BYU, and that's happening. And I can see that house being allowed. But I'm gonna take Oklahoma. And then I'm going to take Oklahoma State. So BYU has 1, 2, 3 wins in the first 6 games. Tech beats them. I don't have them making bowl game. Dang it. 5-7 is their record for me. That sucks. And like I said, I've gone back and forth with BYU from being a bowl team. I can see them shocking us. I'm taking it at what my realistic expectations are above this. My realistic expectations. This is me being a pessimist of my own team, just trying to be down on myself. At a bad season, I will say. 5-7. That's a bad season for them. 5-7. A good season, I can see 8-4. I can see losing to Kansas, going in, losing to Arkansas, losing to TCU, beating Tech on the road in Lavelle Edwards, and then I can see them losing to Texas Tech, and then winning at West Virginia, Iowa State, and Oklahoma, and losing in Stillwater. These are all, like, best case scenario. This is something I can see. Probably 8-4 is possible, and that is my ceiling for them. I don't see them going into Texas and winning. I don't see them going into Stillwater and winning. I do not see them going into Arkansas and winning, or TCU and winning. But the other ones, I can see it's possible. So 8-4 is my likely high for them, but my bottom is 4-8. No, 5-7. Sorry, 5-7. And if they got 5-7, I would be okay. I would be okay. All right, Iowa State is my next one. And there's a reason why I put Iowa State above BYU. Because if BYU's at 5-7, they went 3-6 in conference play. Sorry about that. Alright. The next thing. Alright. And this is why I think Iowa State is above BYU. Okay? I think they win their first game. Iowa State. That's a rivalry. I'm taking Iowa on that one. Taking Iowa State. 2-1 already, okay? 2-1. Then Oklahoma State comes into that is I'm not even gonna guess because I'm not sure what Iowa State city is. But I think Oklahoma beats them. Oklahoma State beats them. Oklahoma beats them. TCU beats them. They beat Cincinnati. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. They beat Cincinnati. They beat Baylor. I have Baylor high though. Um, they lose to Baylor. Let's say they beat Kansas. We beat them. They upset. Wow. I only have them in 2 games. That's actually changes, I guess. Hold up. 1, 2, probably 3. Probably 3. And then 4. They have a tough freaking schedule. And 5, maybe? Yeah, I like Iowa State. I don't think they'll go into Provo and win. But I think I'm putting them above BYU. Don't know why, but I think they're getting some win, some random win that I'm not even going to try to predict. That puts them at 4. 2 random wins. That puts them at 4-5. Their conference record would be 4-5. And the next one, who would go to good teams? Holy crap. And let's do KU. Probably would be my next one. Okay, and this is why I think very easily BYU could, like, they will beat BYU in my opinion. It's they play Missouri State. They play Illinois. Illinois is a bottom feeding team. They feed on the bottom. I think they went 6-6 last year after starting 6-0. So have that end of the season. Then Nevada, I'd see them beating Nevada, and they're coming 3-0 to BYU. BYU's coming off the loss to Arkansas, and they win. So they'd start 4-0. BYU's 2-2 at that point. They lose to Kansas. They lose to UCF. They lose to Oklahoma State. They beat Oklahoma. They beat Iowa State. They lose to Tech. They lose a rivalry, but they beat Cincinnati. Wait, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, yeah. But they have the tiebreaker over BYU, so yeah. Yeah. But they also make a bowl game. They end the season 7-5. Make a bowl game. I see their high being with the quarterback they have in Jalen Daniels. I can see their high being freaking 10-2, and with a lots to teach to Texas and Kansas State. But I also see their low being they have a coming to earth season where they have 4-10. 4-8. 1 second. I am going to go on and take this call real quick. before that, I do have family issues and family concerns that we are worried about, and yeah, just trying to have a coping mechanism at this point. All right, so where were we? Oh yeah, I can see the high beam for Kansas. They could be in the championship. Um, but their low as well is really a lot to BYU could hurt their season, and they could lose fourth straight. If they win at BYU, no, win to BYU, they could lose. They could go on to shock the world. But if they lost to BYU, it would really hurt their chances. All right. Hmm. UTF is probably my next one. And UTF is the reason I'm putting them so low is short one. It's short for University of Central Florida, and I just think they're new. It's going to take a toll. They They beat Kent State. They lose. This one's hard. Beating Boise State on the blue turf. Boise's. Let's actually show you. Um. Yeah. So this is their turf. This is their home field. Huge home field advantage because of their blue. That's their like the uh, most common jersey they rock. Um, so yeah, hard to beat Boise State at home. BYU's done it twice. I see Boise State might upset them. Might um but they beat Villanova. They beat Kansas State beats them. Baylor beats them. And that might be hard. Beating them in Orlando might be hard. Yeah, let's say that's a win. So they're looking at 3-2, 3-2, 1-1 in conference going into Kansas, and Kansas could pull off the upset, but I'm saying UCF here. So UCF 2-1, 2. That one's a hard one. 2-2. They beat West Virginia. They beat Cincinnati. 2-3, 2-4. No, they beat West Virginia. They beat Cincinnati. They lose to Oklahoma State at UCF at the bounce house, I think. And then they lose to Texas Tech, making Houston UCF really big for me. Because I think Houston can beat UCF. And I think that's why I have them on my lower half. It's because UCF, when they win 2, 3, 4, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. When they win 7, they make the playoff. They make the postseason. And I think right there, that's a good spot. They're winning 4 of the 9 conference games, and that's good. Okay, so my winners, let's say the positives. All right, that's one. I think Baylor's my next one. Baylor. And this is why But Utah probably. What? You're 7-5. So, yeah, 7-5. Great odds of making a tournament. This is where I'm gonna get a lot of hate because OU. This is where I'm gonna get a lot of hate, guys. Because I don't think OU's gonna be good. Sorry. They win one. SMU could give them a fight. Tulsa could give them a fight. And I'm going to rack both of those up as wins. They lose to Cincy. They start out 3-1. They win at Iowa State. They lose to Texas. They win with UFC coming to town. UCF coming to town. They lose to Kansas. They win to Kansas. They lose to Oklahoma State. They win to West Virginia. They go into BYU and beat BYU. That's hard because I hate saying that. But they win to TCU. Let me count. 1, 2, 2. Yeah, sorry. OU, number 6. At Zayset at 1 lots, 2 lots, 3 losses on the season, but all in conference play, by the way. 3.5 is what I'm giving them in lots category. Because I'm not racking BYU up as a lots at home. But I am. So, in that scene, yeah, probably OU at 6. Then, that's here I give them no chance. Let's take Tech. Tech has a hard year. Tech wins in Wyoming. Lansing, it's hard to win that, though. Lansing, Wyoming, it's hard to win that. The Appalachian? Yeah, yeah. At Wyoming, it's freaking crazy. 7,000 feet above sea level. That's hard to win, but they win it. But Oregon comes in and stumps them. They went to Tarleton State. They went to West Virginia. They went to Houston. They lose to Baylor. Yeah, they lose to Baylor. Or win to Baylor. That's probably a toss up. But they lose to Kansas State. And I think that loss to Kansas State is the reason why I'm saying Lavelle Edwards are going to be bouncing and they win to BYU. They'll shut the crowd down. But they'll they'll lose to TCU. They'll beat Kansas. They'll beat UFC and they'll beat UCF and they'll play Texas. I'm not going to give that one up because I know who my picks are. You want me to answer that one, okay? But I'm not going to give that one up till Texas comes. My top four and the final four who I can see being in the conference championship. TCU. TCU's number 4 for me. TCU just had a great season, but they are not. They lost a lot, so I'm saying number 4 is a good spot for them for me. Just because I think TCU's really good. I think they'd start out 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, 8-0. They're going fast. They're going strong. Now the hard part of their schedule comes after BYU. They have a hard game in Kansas State, and they get beat. They get beat at Texas Tech. They get beat at Texas. No, they beat Texas Tech. They get beat at Texas. They beat Baylor, and they beat Oklahoma. So, they're 4th place, and just because I've also looked at Oklahoma State's schedule. Okay, this is why I am high on Oklahoma State. And I can see Oklahoma State going, just trouncing their schedule, okay? Which really sucks because I'm a BYU fan. BYU fan. It sucks. Because 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 4-1, 5-0, 5-1, 5, 6-1, 7-1, 8. At worst, 8-2 at that point. No, at worst, 7-2 at that point, or 8-2. 9-2. No, 8-1. 9-2. No, 9-1. 8-2. 10-1. 9-2. And then 11-1. 9-2. No, I'll say 11-1. 10-2. At worst. That's if Oklahoma State plays like Oklahoma State. 10-2 outwards for me. Unless they just have a horrid season. But they'll have a lot of confidence going into that Kansas State game. They'll have a lot of confidence going into that game. 4-0. You throttled your last 2 opponents. I don't see how you lose. Yeah. 10-2. If Oklahoma State doesn't get 10-2, I'm gonna be a little bit rattled. A little bit rattled. So, Oklahoma State Third place. They what? They play. They don't play anybody in my top half. Tell Kansas State. After that, it's Oklahoma in Bedlam. And Oklahoma State's gonna have a good year, guys. Prove me wrong. Alright, next up. Let's look at Kansas State real quick. I'm not going to give my pick. Okay? I'm not going to give my pick of these two right now. I'm not going to give my pick of these two till I look at their schedule. Until I tell you what happens and what I believe can happen. Alright? So, 1 endo, 2 endo, 3 endo, 4 endo, 5 endo, 6 endo. No, 6 endo or 5 endo. Tech could beat them. But I'm saying 6 endo. Okay? 7 endo or 6 or 5 and 2. Let's say 5 and 2. 8 endo. If you go in to Texas 8 endo and Texas goes into you 7-1 at that point, they do have Texas. Their only loss for me in that scenario would be Bama. They have Bama. Bama's always good. Their only loss. Worst case scenario, Texas 7. We'll get there again. I'll say mine when I'm going through Texas' schedule. But they beat Baylor. They beat Kansas. And then they beat Iowa State. So, now Texas. Let's go through Texas. Alright. Texas. We give you rights. We'll take Bama. We'll give you Wyoming. We'll give you Baylor. We'll give you Kansas. We'll give you Bedlam. We'll give you the Red River rivalry. We'll give you Houston and BYU. So you are 7-1. 7-1. Going into Kansas State. If you lose that game, you are out of the playoff picture. If you lose that game, if you're Texas, you are out of the playoff picture. However, not if you're Kansas State. Remember, Kansas State, if they go into that game and win, on how I feel like they could go, they might be 6-2, maybe, but more than likely for me, I have them undefeated. They built up a lot of confidence, and just keep building up that confidence as you start putting the pound on teams. And you go into Bedlam 8-0. Are you losing? Are you go into Texas 8-0? You go into Austin 8-0. Are you really losing that game? I think yeah. I think Texas will have a lot to play for. I think Texas at that point has a lot to play for. They're playing for your title bid. And let's say back half they both win it. Back half, I feel like that one's gonna be hard. Texas Tech versus Texas. Gonna be hard, but I'd say they win. I'd say they win. Well, how I feel, it's Texas gets that first win. During the rematch, though, and to go to the playoff, it's going to be Kansas State. I think Texas has that fire behind them that first time. But I think Kansas State got beat on the road. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a close game. Got beat on the road. Got knocked out of that playoff picture for a little while. Well, Texas gets beat in Dallas. And I'm saying this is my confirmation. This is it. This is where I'm going. I could switch YouTube. Probably gonna do that. No, didn't feel right about. But I think Kansas State is gonna win. And I think Kansas State will get the recognition they deserve. They are mean. They are here. And they're going to be here to stay. They repeat. They be the first team to repeat since Oklahoma did in 2018 and 2019. No, 2019 and 2020. They be the first team to repeat. But they also made the playoff. And yeah, I think whoever wins this go to the playoff. And whoever loses has a rough story to tell. Thank you all for watching. Hope you liked the video. That has been my Big 12 prediction. And it's going to start something for me that I'm excited to announce. And once it will be done and finished, there will be a link in my description below. But as for now, I will announce it. And it's called Talking Sports with Todd. And that is a working title. Probably put in the fact that I'm not, these are just some guy's opinion on the internet. But I love it, and it's fun for me. Sorry about that 10-minute wait. And I'm excited. I'm going to be doing this for all of the Power 5, all of the Group of 5. However, during the season, I am going to focus on the Power 5. I will look at Group of 5 teams that have surprised me, and that are looking good. Like, say, Coastal Carolina has a good season. Say Boise State has a good season. I am a BYU fan. I like Boise State though. And I like to watch Boise State. I watch Mountain West games. I love college football. And I'm excited. I'm here. This is finally happening. This is something I've wanted to do for a long time. So please stay with me. Please be here as I go through this journey and come through it with me. Thank you all for watching. Good night.